This is Uncle Masty, and this is a 3 Count podcast. Ain't no party like a 3 count party because the 3 count party don't stop. Ow!
I'm in fashion, roll with cold.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast Presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And by now, after season 4, our 300th plus episode, I would just think that you would just say with me, I am your Sherpa. Because like every good Sherpa or your tribal chief, you will all acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficient than you can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. So who's entering the ring tonight? Well, you can find this man at Smash Monster. You can find him at UCW, Orochi, High Tension, TCW, Intergender Bonanza, and Backbreaker. He is everybody's favorite Uncle Masty.
What's happening, Big Red Dog?
Yo, man, thank you for coming on the show. I definitely appreciate this a lot.
Oh, it's my pleasure, my friend.
Yo, so let's get this thing started, man, because like, who is Uncle Masty?
That's a very deep question. I mean, I could answer that about 1,000 different ways. I'm a pro wrestler. I'm a promoter now. I guess I finally wear that hat. I'm a former preacher and minister. I've been a carport salesman. I've been a manufacturer. I have what else? Man, I've done a lot of shit. Tour manager, band manager, nonprofit manager. If there's carny work to be done, I'm the guy to do it. I am your favorite uncle. I am the cool uncle. I am the uncle that just has wild adventures that nobody will ever believe. If you've ever seen the movie Big Fish, that's sometimes when I'm telling stories about things that have happened in my life, that's what it feels like.
I can respect it. A man that lives many lives. I can be honest, like I've been that person that was like a busser, a serviceman, a personal trainer currently, pro wrestler, rapper, poetry. Like if it's something that you can put your hands into or even just like do something with, I've probably been associated with it. So I can relate to like all different hats, different wears. Because as you age and you get older in life, like you want to explore everything. Because to be real, in a blink of an eye, everything is gone. And that's why
the more I do, the more I realize there's more that I want to do. So like it's exponentially just boom, 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 and I love it. I just want to do more stuff, experience more things.
Yo, so how did you get started into the business?
So when I was about, I want to say like 16 years old, I started going to indie shows just around the area with a family friend of ours took us around, and I met the Wild Samoans. They were only about 45 minutes away from my house. WXW was it was it, it was, and like we're talking the late 90s because I'm old as dirt, and big brawly dudes, and like me, big brawly dude. It just kind of clicked. I found my people, and I started going to shows, and I started being a little bit more regular there. And I always knew, I was like, this is what I want to do. I like something with wrestling is what I have to be doing. And I started doing ringside photography for Pops. I knew how to do websites, so like that was kind of like my wiggle in was I could help them run their website. And I was willing to do all this for the, very exploitable price of free because I was a kid, and they treated me very well, and it was natural, I was going to be a pro wrestler. So I started training in the year 2001 when I was still in high school, and it's been wild.
Yeah, it's interesting because you had mentioned that you're, a promoter, as well as, like obviously handling your own promotions and then, wrestling at the same time. And it's like, you see people who get into the business because of one thing, right? So for you, obviously it was photography, but then, you find this fascination with the business and you just want to explore all the options.
Let's make no false statements here. I knew what I wanted to do. I've been this big since I was in 7th grade. I just didn't know what to do with it. And I knew I belonged in that ring. And it was just a matter of how do I get there?
Mm.
How do I get there? And I think that's so important is like, if that's what you want to do, if being in the ring is what you want to do, you've got to figure out what do I have to do to get from where I'm at now to in there? Because it's not as easy as you think, especially if you want to do it a lot. So find out what you're good at and use that to get in. That's what I did. I started with photography, web design. I learned how to do a lot of marketing, which later on helped me out. I have a journalism degree with public relations track. It kind of defined the way my life was going to go. But yeah, I knew that I had to be in that ring. That's where I would. Is destiny.
That's one thing. Like, I think for me, when I was like growing up too, I was trying to figure out like, everywhere I looked, like pro wrestling was around me, even though like I was an amateur wrestler and I started doing other things. I think it's one of those things where I was like, I kind of always wanted to be a pro wrestler. And even like my father, like talking me back to about it, he was like, yeah, he's like, your grandfather wanted to be a pro wrestler. And he's like, I just never felt like it was one thing for me. And then I see it grow with you. And you're right. Like, you're gonna do whatever you gotta do to find your way to get into this place. And then even when you want to make your mark, as like everybody wants to do, right? You're gonna find your own way to do it, right? Whether you become a graphic designer or you start a podcast so that you can reach out to other promoters to talk to them on their show. You do all sorts of stuff like to get out there, or you just become like this really dominant wrestler. Like everybody has like their own niche of like how they get themselves like noticed, and it's cool to see because there's a lot of avenues to get into the business, but ultimately there's one road that leads you into the ring, and that's literally like getting in the ring.
Absolutely. And the cool thing, as I get older, I see this more and more. When I was younger, it was very singularly focused, like it was all about what happened in between those ropes. But as I get older, I see that there's art form all over the place. Like I do graphic design too. I do all my poster designs. I do all my own merch designs. I've done artwork in that. I've done artwork in the art of promoting and marketing. There's an artwork. I write all of the copy for anything having to do with Smash Master Wrestling. And there's an art form in writing. There's art everywhere. There's art forms in storytelling. There's the art form of the athletics. There's art everywhere. And it's finding out what you are good at creating. What is your calling to create? How are you called to create? And then grasping a hold of that and going, how can I apply this to pro wrestling? And taking that avenue. I've seen some people that can do some banging video production. I'm a hack at best when it comes to putting videos together. I can do it, but it's nothing spectacular. But then I run into people that can do things like that my mind can't even comprehend. And I love it because it's not even like I wish I was good like that. It was like, I love the different variations of art and people pulling together, because the more artists you have creating, the better the creation. I remember a period of time where wrestling was very just sterile and blah, and everybody was either just, beating the piss out of each other, strong style, or like doing grapples. And there's an art form to all of that. But like when everybody's doing it, it's just, That's why you got to find your thing, your flavor, your voice, not what the current trend is, but what is it that you do, and then go out there and do it well.
It's the one thing about wrestling that's just kind of funny and it's so unique is that like wrestling is meant to be a variety show. Like you're meant to have a little bit of like everything. You can always have like your strong style wrestlers, you can have your grapplers, you can have your high flyers, you can have your comedy acts, right? But it's one of those things where it's like ultimately like all these beautiful pieces are going to blend together and make the giant masterpiece all together. And it's funny because like even me, like I'm older in the game, right? In the sense that like I'm turning 38 this year and I've only been in the business for 3 years, but it's like understanding like how big like the circle is, and to see people all say, I only want to do this. It's like, you're closing off so many avenues to what you could be doing because you're like, nah, this is the wheelhouse for me. Like I only got into wrestling because I want to be the best strong style wrestler in the world. Like, all right.
I kept myself closed off to comedy for the longest time. Because it was an ego trap for me, like I wanted to be taken seriously because I felt like I wasn't in life taken seriously. So it's like,
Hmm.
let me throw some leather boots and spandex on and go be taken seriously. And as I get older, like the guys that help me out with Smash, they're always busting my chops because I'm always like, not so much Scooby Doo bullshit. So can I swear?
Yeah, you can swear.
Okay. So it's like, yeah, I don't want so much Scooby Doo bullshit. And they're like, have you seen what you book? Have you seen what you do? It's all Scooby Doo bullshit. And it's like, you know what? I've turned the corner. Like, there's a lot of flavors that I like that I know other people don't like. But now, as a promoter, instead of just as a worker, as a performer, my job's to sell tickets. I got to sell tickets. If I want to pay the talent what they deserve to be paid, I need to move tickets because I can only work so many extra shifts to cover bills, and
Yeah.
covering that variety and covering all of those flavors to attract a wider, to cast a wider net. I know what I'm good at, but I also know what other people are good at. Like, I know that if I bring Stan Styles in, that place is going to literally be eating whipped cream out of the palm of his hand, and it'll be glorious. And then I'll follow whatever shenanigan we did a kiddie pool cream pie match between him and the Dean of Steel. Just the feel of it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. And it was fantastic. And we followed it up with Kit Rat versus Killian McMurphy, and they just went out there and literally clotheslined each other for 20 minutes. And I love being able to just show that duality of what this is. This is entertainment, this is, people don't just want to watch two guys go out there and be the best wrestlers in the world. They want to go out and be entertained. It's covering all of that because you can be entertained by the best wrestlers there. But if everybody goes out there to be the best wrestler in the world, then only one person's succeeding.
Yeah.
And that's a really terrifying low success rate, you know. Just my thoughts on it, at least. I just love the variety. The variety is fantastic.
Yeah, and I think whenever you get those characters that are like, because sometimes what ends up happening is you run into like a super serious character, right? Like I'll use a perfect example, right? So one of the guys I team with is TJ Sykes, right? And TJ Sykes, obviously the Red Prince, very serious, right? Takes very, very serious control of like situations. It's just the way he is. And then like you have me, who is clearly like the Deadpool of like the wrestling world, and just like he's a mercenary who thinks he's cool and just like slick and does like all sorts of random ass shit and says random ass stuff. But it's like the idea, like you have this super serious character with a super funny character, but then like they blend together and you have like this awesome like tag spot that gets put together, or like these awesome like characters that blend and you start seeing like cool stuff. It's equivalent to like how I think when I see Family Guy, right? Because if you ever notice like the Welcome to the North episodes are the ones that are specifically designed for Stewie and Brian. Uh, those are two characters that you really wouldn't put together because obviously, like Brian is, he leans on one way. Stewie's very evil, or he's supposed to be, not so much anymore. But like those episodes, like show like two different contrasting characters and how they can blend together and make like this awesome array of like an adventure. And I think about that all the time. So I think when people are like, I'm just gonna be a super serious wrestler, I'm like, look at Brian Danielson. Like that guy is like the American Dragon. He's very serious, right? But every once in a while, you get him with like another character that's super funny out there, and shit just
People
works,
still
right?
do this, right? People still do the yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
We're super serious about that, The man had a wooden championship belt.
He really did.
This guy
He
is
was
the
a
best wrestler in the world. He found a way to bridge between the two worlds.
Team
And it's
Hell No was not supposed to be a thing. Like,
sometimes the crowd books things just by opening their mouths from the audience. And you just sometimes you lean with it, sometimes you fight against it. Sometimes fate does booking just by things happening, you just got to roll with it. And I think that's one thing I learned from professional wrestling that I've been able to apply to every other aspect of my life is being able to call it on the fly, to book it in guerrilla. Wrestling happens. You see show like some promoters fall apart when talent don't show up. Surprise, your talent didn't show up. It happens almost to everybody. It's how you respond to that. And when that shit happens, the entire locker room watches because that's how we can tell the measure of a man as far as are we ready to follow you into battle? You know, are we ready to follow you into this thing that we could potentially paralyze ourselves with? That's why it's just so important to be able to have that adaptability. And I was able to carry that from wrestling. I've taken several breaks. You know, like I started wrestling. My first match was in July of 2002. I'm not a 20-year guy. I've taken a lot of breaks to do a lot of other shit because I got a lot of adult ADHD going on. So like I can't focus on any one thing for a very long period of time. But like I ran a carport company. Like I ran an entire facility. I don't know shit about welding or building or construction, but I'm just good at organizing information and communicating. So figuring out logistics. And because of wrestling, because of being able to go, oh shit, last minute change, last minute change, last minute change, and not fall apart because of it. And that's so important too, Gilad, just like the variety. You know, you just have to have this adaptability to be able to be a good entertainer, to be a storyteller. If you're writing a book, you know, like there's a couple different ways that people write. Some people write with an outline, and some people just write, you know. But you've got to have like a starting point, an ending point, and an adaptability to get there somehow, some way. Sometimes the water in the river's too shallow, and you got to pick the boat up and cut catty corner. You know, sometimes shit happens. That's very rambly, and I apologize for that.
No, I like it though, but it's a great analogy to like how wrestlers should be treating, and even like wrestling shows should be treating things, right? Like sometimes, hey, you should just if a show goes perfect, hey, that's a rare occasion. Things go off the rail all the time in any show, whether we're talking about the WWE or AEW or the indie scene, like things go awry all the time. I mean, we can use a perfect example, you know, I don't know, example like the so when you guys will watch this, you guys are literally watching this the next day. But the Rumble, right? The women's Rumble, like Sonya Deville gets her face busted open, right? She has to be eliminated immediately, and they had planned for her to be in the Rumble for a little longer than what she was in. You saw Rhea Ripley or the Sonya Deville, and then you saw Rhea Ripley get her nose busted open, right? Like, there's just you got to be able to move on the fly. Like things happen all the time, and it's fine. Just keep rolling with the punches. It's not very. You just kind of have to expect things are going to happen. It's not if a show's gonna fall apart, it's kind of when it's gonna fall apart, but it's just how you bounce back to it. So I like the idea of like being told like, hey, like sometimes you just gotta roll with the water. Sometimes it's gonna get too shallow. Just pick up your boat and just keep moving, and you're fine.
You know, drunk drivers typically walk away from accidents without injury because they're not so stiff and rigid. Because they're just very not advocating for drunk driving, obviously, but
Yeah.
people that get hurt in those accidents, the innocent victims, are stiff and rigid because they're on alert, waiting for a calamity to happen. And it's the same exact thing. If you have that fluidity, if you're not so stiff and rigid, if you're willing to break down those ego barriers of this is what I am and this is who I am and this is all I can be, and you allow yourself to interact differently with different people, then you'll have such an easier time navigating through this world, through this life, this wrestling life as a performer and as a promoter or as a booker or any kind of storyteller. It is so important to just learn to breathe with it.
I like that. And speaking of learning to breathe with it, usually that comes when people take like crazy bumps, right? Or take a bad bump. But I need to know what's your worst bump?
My worst bump?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I don't know. I First of all, I'm huge, so like I don't get put in a lot of big bump situations. Now I did just have Big Vin choke slam me from the second rope the other night um, at Orochi. That was a lot of fun. Um, I haven't been in the air for that long for a long time. Um, I'll tell you what, it wasn't a bump. It wasn't a bump. But in 2002, I want to say about November, one of my first concussions. I was working this guy named Cage. He's a Syracuse, Rochester, Binghamton, like upstate New York guy, and big jacked power lifter, really strong, dumb, chubby 19-year-old loudmouth schmuck. And we were doing this spot because he was the champ, and I wanted to look cool because I was 19 and I thought I knew everything. And I said, "Listen, Chuck, I'm gonna lean over the ropes and I want you to swing that chair at my head, but don't be a bitch about it. Swing it like you fucking mean it." 'Cause I'm dumb. I'm dumb. Now I'd be like, can I put my hand up? Because like I didn't believe in that. Like there's no blocking it. So like I see him come walking over, like we're in the middle of the match, and I'm sure it was terrible because I was in it. And I see him pick the chair up, and I didn't know until after this is the first time he'd ever swung a chair in a match. So I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
this is great." I just handed a 320-pound giant walking muscle a weapon. Fantastic. And he's got it upside down. So I'm looking at the ridges on the bottom,
Mm.
and I'm leaning over, and it's not like I can be like, "Time out, hey, flip that around." Although now, as an almost 40-year-old, I totally would be like, "Time out, turn that chair around. Thank you. Okay, go ahead." Comedy bit out of it, but like he swung it, and I saw like pink, white, blue, yellow, purple, black. Computer was rebooting in my head, and I shake it off, and the ref's leaning down next to me, and she goes, "Are you okay? Do you need the doctor?" And I said, "No, get me the photographer. I want pictures," because I could just feel this cascading waterfall of blood pouring down my face. There's pictures of it up on my Facebook, and it's just pooling. It's pooling on the mat. I have a whole handprint on the mat. It was just a bloody handprint. And like I'm looking down, just watching it come down, and I go to wipe it out of my eyes, and all I'm doing is just smearing more blood around. Like he went all the way to the skull.
Oh.
Took 8 staples to put it back together. I tried to go to a party after the show instead of the doctor. My brother yelled at me, and a bunch of my friends made me go get stapled up. It was an absolute disaster and a mess. We got kicked out of that fire hall because I bled too much. Just hard way, that I think would be like my worst. I don't want to say bump, but like the worst injury or hit to the head. Can you really quantify which is the worst hit to the head?
No. No,
You don't
it's
have
all
to
bad.
go through the concussion list.
Yeah. No, it's all bad. That's all
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, they all suck. They all suck a lot. Um, but no, I haven't really had to take like a whole lot of big, big, big bumps. I'm all right with that. Maybe that's why I can still go at 40.
Yeah, you're like, hey, I don't gotta do all these crazy things, and it helps being a big guy too, because
Yeah,
like if
yeah,
you're a bigger
being a
dude,
big
like
guy,
people are
yeah,
gonna bump you.
it's definitely been a blessing. But I will tell you, it's no brains from this point on. I'm doing dumb shit now. I will do dumb shit. I'll continue to do dumb shit. It's till the wheels fall off and probably then some. So don't think just because I'm out there that it's like gonna be like your typical old big guy. I'll do some dumb shit. Like I don't mind. I like it actually. I ain't getting signed, so let's see how far we can push the boundaries.
I like it. I like it. Well, so one of my other questions I love asking, and it's something that comes with this show. What's one of the hardest lessons that you've had to learn?
On every level, on every single level of professional wrestling, as a performer, as a promoter, as a booker, um, as a human being, less is more. Less is more. Um, not just a cliche about doing less moves and slowing it down out there, kid, because that's real too. But less is more. Um, you don't need to make 1,000 friends because if you have 1,000 friends, they're not all your friends.
Mhm.
If you have less, you're choosier about what that less is that you have. Everything that you have, relationships, objects, financials, experiences, moments, memories, reputation, it's all put in a bag and you carry it around. Minimize. Carry less bullshit. Less is more. In the ring, less is more. Instead of throwing 3 really rapid fire punches, throw one really good one. Register that it took effort to throw it. And when your opponent throws one at you, sell that. Sell it. Let the crowd breathe that in. When you're a booker, learn to say no. There's not room for everybody on the show. You don't need to have 3 3-ways and a 4-corner tag match and a 17-man scramble and a battle royal just to get everybody on. Learn to say no. Less is more. As a worker, you don't need to work. You don't need to wrestle 4 times a weekend. You don't. You want to, but you don't have to. Stop working at the shindies. Stop working at the shindies. You want to get reps in? Almost every training center now has cameras. And I guarantee you at the training center, they're going to have just as many people standing around watching as you do at most of these shindies. Get your reps in a controlled environment and protect your brand. Stop giving yourselves up. Stop breaking your necks for guys that didn't give 2 shits about you. Less is more. Learn to say no. Like I said, every level, top to bottom, less is more.
I like that. That's a lot of great advice. Um,
I'm old.
but it's appreciated though. So here's my last big question before we jump into the 10 count podcast questions. But being that you've been around for, almost, and you've been around the business for 20 plus years, right? I don't want to say you've been in 20 years because you said so, but being a promoter and even a worker, I need one do and one don't of the locker room.
One do and one don't of the locker room. Don't be a creep. Don't touch people that don't want to be touched. Don't assume people want to be touched. Don't be a creep. You're not there to. Your job in the locker room is not to procreate. Don't be a creep. There's nothing worse. I'll just expound on this too. Beyond all of the grossness of it, there's nothing worse than a locker room divided because of interpersonal relationship drama. Leave that shit outside. That's my don't. Do, and this is gonna be a different answer than you would have gotten 20 years ago. Do have fun. Do enjoy this. Do remember that the reason you're a professional wrestler is because you wanted to be a professional wrestler because it looked fun. Remember that this is fun. When I broke into the business, it was very common to beat the fun out of the students, to make fun of and ridicule them for enjoying being a wrestler, for enjoying watching wrestling. The phrase, "don't be a mark," gets thrown around so much, and I hate it. I hate it because it's just gatekeeping the fun out of wrestling. Go and enjoy it. I went to GCW's New Year's Eve and New Year's Day show this past New Year's with Philly Mike and Riley Crow. And it was so refreshing being with 2 people who are wrestling fans at a wrestling show. I've been in locker rooms. I've been in locker rooms where wrestlers literally sat in a circle to talk about how much they hate wrestling. Fucking leave. Love this shit. Love this shit or get out of it. That's my do. Have fun. Love this shit because it's fun. I'm 40. I wouldn't be doing this shit if it's not fun.
Right. That's the thing. That's why I enjoy. It's just I enjoy. Like I guess that's just where like the bigger part is. I just have fun with everything. So it's crazy to think that you could like guys like guys like Rob Van Dam, guys like Mr. Sandman, guys like, Ricardo Rodriguez, right? Like they've been doing this for so long, but they're still having fun. So at what point did we decide that like, ayo, fun is a bad thing in this business? Like it's so weird to me. I'm like,
Yeah.
why would you not want to enjoy the ride that you're on? Like it just doesn't make sense.
Like you used to get made fun of if you would take the pictures in the back. And now you'll see it on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever, take the photos, take the photos, take the photos. But there was a time when if you took a photo in a locker room, you and another talent, you'd get bullied for it. Don't be such a mark. Like I like to buy shirts off of performers that spark my interest. You used to not be able to do that. You get made fun of for it or threatened to be blackballed. And really it's just like it's small dick energy, Fuck all that. This shit's fun, man. This is fun. Let's enjoy this. And if it ever doesn't get fun, like if you wake up and you're like, I'm not enjoying this, take a break. Step away. It's okay. Guess what? There are no rules. Everybody makes this shit up. Step away. Take 6 months off. Go on the cooler. Get yourself reset. Physically, mentally, emotionally. And if you feel called to come back, then come back. It's still going to be there.
This is so true. So, speaking of keeping things fun, we're going to move into the second best segment. Actually, I'm not even going to front anymore. It's the best segment in the 3 Count podcast because the Red Dogs power rankings are on hiatus. I'm not going to say that they're retired, Chaz. That's just not happening. But this is the 3 Count podcast, 10 count questions. And Uncle Masty, this is how it works. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast. And whatever your answer is, that's your answer.
Ooh. All right.
So we're going to put on the imaginary timer for added pressure. Bing! And in the words of Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown.
Favorite cartoon?
Rick and Morty.
Sonic or Mario?
Mario. Sorry, Killian.
Favorite movie?
Bridge to Terabithia.
Good pick.
First one, right? You said first one that pops in my mind.
PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Favorite actor?
Yeah, that's a hard one. Skip.
All right. Android or Apple?
Android.
Favorite podcast?
Currently, because I've got a 5-second time span or attention span, Weekend at Effie's.
Yes, 100%. Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
Just one.
You can put a list out.
Oh man, Kit Raff.
Okay, I like that one. It's definitely on my list of people to get.
The other one would Kit Raff, Adina Steele, Philly Mike Swanson, and Riley Crow. 1, 2, 3, 4. My 2 favorite couples in professional wrestling.
Nice. So I'll be honest, share this out there. Philly Mike has been on the show, and Adina Steele has been on the show. So Kit definitely is on the list, and Riley Crow as well. So
they're both hurt, so bring them on again because they need something to do.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, I do know that, and I'm like, for those who are wondering, this Sunday, yeah, you guys at right now, if you're in Maryland, you guys can go to Westminster on Sunday and go check out Adina Steele. Go support. Take some pictures, buy some of her merch, right? We can show some love. But she's gonna be there with the Baltimore Celeb Fest. So, more importantly, last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this podcast: favorite curse word?
Fuck.
Right? But yeah, those are all my heavy hitting questions. So the last thing I need from you,
my favorite 4-letter F words are free, food, and fuck. And any combination of those is fantastic as well.
I love that. So those are all my heavy hitting questions. The last thing I need is for you to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
You can find me personally at Rosh Dangit, ROSHDANGIT, because that shit's funny. On Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And then if you want to find Smash Master Wrestling, it is just like this over here. Smash Master Wrestling, no G, and it is wrestling, not wrestling. That is for Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and Twitter because they've got weird character regulations. Smash Master 570.
There you go. He gave you all the handles and told you where you can find him. He also told you, about Smash Master Wrestling. So, what does that mean? Like every great part of a wrestling match, we gotta take it home. Because this is the 3 Count Podcast with this Now It's Your Ring. And like I said, I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. And like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. That's why it's never about me, it's about who's into the ring. So who's into the ring? You see him right there, okay? It's Uncle Masty himself. So you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you're legitimately just subscribed to all of our YouTube channels. You're subscribed to our Spotify. You're even leaving us those 5-star frog slash reviews. You're even going down here. You're following all of our social media handles. You see them right there on the bottom. And if you don't, you can find us at TikTok at 3count_pod, Instagram, and Twitter is actually 3count_pod. TikTok and Instagram is at 3countpod. You guys just type that stuff in there. You guys can find the rest of it because it's all right there. Also, you're picking up our merch. You can find that at prowrestlingtees.com/the 3Count Podcast. You can find my merch at foryourwear.com/red-dog. And you can find Pure Ignorance as well because, support Jazz. And last but not least, do all that stuff. Comment, leave all your messages. Tell your friends you're either doing all that stuff or you're really just kind of waiting for this episode to end. You're waiting for the outro. And then you're choosing another episode to listen to.
Fuck Jay Bougie.
Peace.
What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want you to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there, find us at the 3Count_pod, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3Count Pod. Give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com, give us a subscribe, turn the bell on, turn the notifications, leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm/the 3Count Podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3Count Podcast also has merchandise. At prowrestlingtees.com/the 3Count Pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys and we hope you love us too. So show us some support, please.